Stay a while and listen. This is Brachio Bales coming to you from my sanctuary on the D2R Discord. On this episode, we'll discuss PezRadar's response to one of my social media posts and the new ladder Season 12. Then we'll follow that up with a discussion on the ring point system and then questions from the mailbag. Enjoy. Hey guys, just a quick heads up before we get into the discussion. We had some issues with the audio connection and had to cut some stuff out, and a few parts of the episode are a little garbled. Apologies for that. Also, somewhere buried in the pod are instructions on how to enter our contest to win a really cool Blizzard original Diablo 2 artwork poster. So, good luck. Alright guys, welcome. Today we are joined by Crude Sash and Tyrael. You guys want to say hi real quick?
Hello.
I just want to say good luck, and we're all counting on you.
All right. Today we're going to talk about a few different things. First off, we're going to talk about PezRadar responding to, I don't know what we call it on BlueSky, but I'm still going to call it a tweet. I had, prior to ladder reset, I had tweeted Pez on BlueSky and regarding the message that they had shared on the official Blizzard forums about ladder reset messaging, and they said that they would share more details next week, which would include timing. And what I said to him was, and I put it in quotes, which will include timing, which is the only thing that it would typically include, at least as of late. So does that mean it includes something else? and he responded, just a date. If it were something else, there would be more fanfare beyond just a forum post. And I did respond to him and thank him for giving us some more information. I think this was like a week before ladder start. But obviously that was disappointing. Ladder is currently underway right now, Season 12. I was hoping that we would, since things have been so quiet for so long, that maybe we would get some better news than that. But I guess my only commentary on this is, and I've kind of been harping on this for a bit, why does it take, messaging them on BlueSky to actually share enough information that we know what's going on before, a week out. And I'm grateful that he did respond. That's awesome. But also, I feel like the messaging, the communication could be better. And I guess just in general, I wish that they would, let us know what the plan is. What's going on? You guys working on something? Could you at least just say, hey, we're working on stuff, be patient. That would be enough for me. I'm sure that would be enough for everybody. But just to have the radio silence is unnerving to me.
We're not even asking for a full bone at this point. Just drop us a bone fragment. Yes, there is something. Don't give us just at least that.
Yeah. I mean, some people will say the game is dead. I still refuse to believe that, but some communication, some messaging, I don't think it would hurt. And I get it. They don't want to, maybe if there is something going on, they don't want to, they don't want to say anything too far in advance. Maybe it never makes it to production. Certainly there are projects that get started and never get finished, and then you never hear about them. But yeah, so I don't know. It's just kind of sad to continuously get a regular ladder reset without anything new for what I consider the best game ever made. And the remake is beautiful. The Resurrected is, to me, the pinnacle of ARPGs. Sure, you can even make things fancier and do a bunch of stuff, and there's a lot of these games that are similar, but I don't think that anyone will ever make a better game. Although I will say the Moon Beast game does look interesting. I don't know if you guys have seen that.
Yes.
Are you on their Discord server?
No.
No, yeah. There's a Discord server that they have that they're using to do promotions and stuff and share information. It's from 3 of the original creators of D2 and D1. So, I think it has a lot of promise. It has a lot of really cool stuff, even in the pre-alpha. If you can, go look up the videos or join their Discord server. You can actually, like, all the characters can jump. The world is, you're able to manipulate the world, meaning your attacks destroy stuff. It looks really good. So we'll see. Like, I don't know that I would ever abandon D2, but I will definitely play that game. Anyway, so New Ladder Season 12 is out. I personally am not playing this ladder. I'm sticking to non-ladder. I actually typically play non-ladder mostly, but the last couple seasons, I hadn't yet made a Mosin or Mosaic Assassin, and I hadn't made a decked out Bozon. So I did do that in previous ladders, but I'm going back to playing non-ladder this time.
I haven't really
around.
Picked it up.
What about you guys?
I was telling you guys earlier, but they weren't here, so I got EDD, have since I was little, and so I kind of do this thing where I really hyper focus on a game for a time, and then I'll fall off for a bit and swing back around to it if it's good enough. And I mean, been here since the early days of D2, so I'll be swinging back around to it. But for now, with nothing new to really pique my interest, I'm just waiting till I get that bug again or they add something.
Yeah. What are you playing now?
I've been hitting Ark pretty hard lately.
Ark Survival?
Ark Ascended. Yep. They added a new paid map called Astraeos. It is all Greek themed. So there's statues of Greek mythological figures everywhere. There's the white columns, there's Greek runes, there's even Greek mythological creatures like Minotaur and stuff added. So that's my current play.
What about you, Crude?
I did start a ladder character. It's a Trapsin, which is a really fun build to play. The early going, you go all fire, you wake a fire, and it's a really fun skill to use, and it's for getting started without a lot of gear. It's a fairly safe build, which I'm not playing hardcore, so it doesn't really matter, but I hate dying anyway. I play softcore like I'm hardcore. I try to avoid death at all costs. So yeah, and it's not that I have some type of ladder mentality, I'm not a ladder chaser type person, but there's something about it now that I'm kind of hooked, and I kind of didn't realize it until I rolled the character that I really enjoy that aspect of it, and so I'm looking forward to seeing how far it goes, and generally you want to make a sorceress your first one so she can kind of carry you through. But I just felt like
you
I
get
had,
teleport, and
yeah,
survivability is good because of the teleport, and it's easy to stack magic finds. So
yeah. If I could, I'd like to speak a little bit to your tweet.
Oh yeah.
It is disappointing, and I feel like there's sort of, I don't want to say a schism, but there might be something along the lines of, say, a mixed message that, if you want to hypothesize and speculate, I don't know why I'm using the same word twice. I guess I'm being redundant. What is going on internally with the Diablo team? Because on one hand, they obviously went through X amount of resources to get D2R ready to launch on their own servers in China. And there had to be some type of work to make that happen. They had to change models and certain words, I'm sure, and whatever they needed to do to get it to where the Chinese government said, okay, you can put this with, NetEase and we'll be okay with it. And to add in that, the little bit of extras that they added, and however the functionality grew out of saying, okay, what are we going to do? We're going to start when every character starts, they're going to be preloaded in one of their stashes with the free stuff that we're giving them, that kind of thing, So however much work that took, that was effort made for that to happen. And you can tell that, they had a press tour available, and they put work into it. It wasn't like they just had to flip a switch and there you go. So with that in mind, or for that portion of Diablo, you say, okay, that's up. Now, on the rest of the world side, we knew about the focus group back in July, and we obviously don't know what that led to. And we had the infamous tweet back in June of, you haven't seen anything yet, and that's still true because we haven't seen anything yet. And the mixed messaging is kind of like, okay, are you not telling us because there is a firm plan in mind right now that says we aren't doing anything to D2R, we consider it a dead end, in which case you owe us, the people here, to say, hey, you guys are in maintenance mode. They made that announcement about Diablo 3 right around the time that D2R launched. They made the statement that said D3 was going into maintenance mode. They're still pushing out seasons. I think they're recycling old season motifs. I don't know for sure. I haven't played D3 in a long time. And obviously, they're going to put a lot of energy into D4. I get that. But if D2R is not in maintenance mode, and that's never been said that I'm aware of, then we're free to speculate that there could be some adjustments down the line, whatever they might be, whether it's minor tweaks to skills or items, nerfs, upgrades, whatever, or something more full blown along the lines of the 113 or 114 patch where they revamp certain items and introduce new rune words and that kind of thing. So and because they're not telling us, we're left to kind of speculate as to why they're not telling us. And
yeah, we're kind of languishing in this dry period.
Exactly.
Where they refuse to tell us that we're not getting anything else, but they also refuse to tell us that that they are going to provide more updates. I guess we're kind of in purgatory right now.
Yeah, and I wonder if it's...
Are you in my head? Because I was just going to say that.
I wonder if it's just as simple as they're waiting to decide who is going to take over the leadership role for Diablo, because they still haven't made that announcement yet. And maybe they're saying to themselves, let's not pick a directional path that this next person might not have the same opinion of.
Yeah, and also they may be waiting to announce that who that new person is with an announcement of updates, you know, like maybe it's all gonna kind of be packaged together.
Maybe it depends, yeah. And I think now with it approaching, well, not approaching, we're in October. There's a good shot that we don't really get any concrete news of any kind for another year until BlizzCon of next year, and that's if they're planning on doing some type of update that's worthy of a BlizzCon announcement.
Yeah, I mean, I've talked to a few different streamers recently, and I guess the general consensus is that if we do hear anything, it might not be until BlizzCon. I don't think they have any inside information, but I mean, it would be the place to do it. Like, they would announce the new director, the new leader of the Diablo franchise. Probably let them introduce like some new major updates, but yeah, yet to be seen. The other thing I guess is worth mentioning is I find it interesting that was it last episode or the previous episode to that? I think it was the previous episode where we talked about D2RC. I kind of speculated that maybe the ladders for international and for China would be aligned at some point, and it turned out that is the case. I don't think that's a mistake. I guess the only reason I say that is if they were going to update the game, it would be much easier for them if everything was aligned in order to push out changes. Yeah, I mean, just thinking of it from a logistical standpoint, I think that makes a lot of sense. So, who knows? I guess I won't accept right now. I won't accept that there aren't changes coming, but I have accepted that it may be a little while before we hear anything. That's kind of where I'm at.
That's fair.
I think so too, unfortunately.
But that's okay. All right, well, you guys, anything else on Ladder or on PezRadar's tweet?
I will add one.
I have nothing.
I will add one point to say that beyond disappointing, I think that even if D2R is in shadow maintenance, for lack of a better term, there is such a fierce, loyal fan base that it's worthy of a mention of something, just because of that, just in a pure sense of, hey, there are people who have dedicated 2 decades to this game, and they deserve something, some type of answer. And I would hate to think that there are a faction of people in the Diablo team who've written off D2R as a lot of people who play offline and items, because though those elements do exist, that is not the only people who play, and we know from firsthand experience how many people are passionate about playing it and enjoying it, and it feels like a slap in the face sometimes that those people don't get acknowledged.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, there are still a lot of people that play. Like our Discord server and our Reddit, we have more members than we've had ever on the Reddit. And on Discord, like, the number keeps going up. There are more and more people joining. There's always new people joining the server that are playing, always asking for help and advice and stuff like that. So, the game's not dead from a player standpoint. I'll tell you that. And
absolutely.
And I will say, if anyone, Pez, or if anyone from Blizzard, Diablo team, whatever, is listening, please just tell us something. Don't leave us in the lurch. We're hungry, and the fan base deserves to get some kind of an update.
Agreed.
I think that's more important than us wanting an update. I think that having been loyal as so many of us have been, it's beyond needing or wanting. We deserve to know what's happening next.
Yeah. All right. Well, I think we'll take a quick break here, and when we come back, we will have a brief discussion on the point system for rings, and then we'll get into some questions from the mailbag. Be right back. This episode is brought to you by our D2R Discord and subreddit. Come join our community of over 100,000 combined members. Ask questions, interact with other players, get real-time updates on Diablo Clone and Terror Zones, join voice channels and kill hordes together, enter our giveaways, or just hang out and chat. If you love D2R as much as we do, be sure to check it out. Links in the description. All right, and we are back. So next up, Tyrael's going to do a quick rundown of the ring point system, and I guess I'll just preface it with saying that this is commonly used for PvP. There are some modifiers that aren't in here, such as life leech or mana leech, and that would be more geared toward survivability in PvE. But with that, I'll turn it over to Tyrael.
All right, so I'm pretty new to this, so if either of you guys hear anything that's not, 100% whatever, please let me know. So the ring system, the rating system, is on a scale of 1.5 to 6, and that kind of depends on the usefulness as well as the value. So some of the modifiers that we're going to be looking at, for instance, FCR, 10 FCR. On rings, it looks like it's guaranteed to be 10 FCR if it has it. That's
There's
faster
no other
cast
roll.
rate. Okay.
Yeah.
So that itself counts as a single point. Then up to 20 strength is going to be your strength modifier. 7 to 12 points is going to get you a half a point. 13 to 20 is considered a full point. Dexterity, you're looking at 5 to 9, that's going to net you a half a point. 10 to 15 is considered a full point. For life, you're looking at 13 to 25 is going to be a half a point, and 26 to 40 is going to be that full point. Mana is 30 to 58, that's a half point, and then 59 to 90 is going to earn you a full point. Your attack rating is 80 to 99, that's going to be half a point, and then 100 to 120 is your full point. Your replenish life, roll of 3 to 5, half a point. A full point is going to be 6 to 9. All res, 4 to 6 is a half point. 7 to 11 is going to be your full point. Single resistances is 10 to 19 for half a point, and 20 to 30 for the full point.
So,
and then, go ahead.
I guess just to add on to that, by single resist, that means cold, fire, lightning. I don't know if that necessarily includes poison, although I guess it could. For PvP, I guess I would say, depending on who you're going up against, right? Poison could be important, so maybe it would include any of those.
I want to say, from what I see on the Reddit, and again, this is kind of like my first foray into doing this, or at least looking at it, it seems like poison is kind of like the lowest tier of single resistances. So given the right buyer.
Yeah, so like when you're, a good example is tri-res boots.
Yes.
Right, so like people want cold, fire, lightning, to get like that upper echelon of tri-res boots. you could have quad res boots, but usually the poison's least important. However, for a Nova Sorc, for example, they want the poison res. So, but again, this chart that we're looking at is geared towards PvP. So I guess depending on what your build is and who you're going up against, that could determine what single resist is most important for you.
And I think we can say that with pretty much any of these things that we talk about with value or what they're worth to a person, it may not be worth anything to 99.9% of players, but if you find that right person looking to buy it,
sure,
plenty of things have much more value. So like you brought up, most builds, not a big fan of the poison. Find yourself, you said Nova Sorc, correct?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, so it all comes down to the person, but this is kind of one of those general guidelines.
Mm-hmm. And then the last one there.
So the last one is going to be the minimum damage, and you're looking at 3 to 5 for half a point, and 6 to 9 for that full point. So then what that comes down to is using this list, you can build up points. So if you have, 4 of these things on it, what is the point rating? And you're looking at 1.5 to 3 points, pretty much char seafood. You get to 3.5, it's a temporary solution, for ladder, or if it's still not that great, then you're going to look at Charcy. Once you get into the 4 range, you're looking at a usable item for PvP. 4.5 is just bonus, and then you guys can't see this list, but it's funny. 5 is considered WoW, 5.5 is considered top tier, and 6 is considered a trophy item. If you can find a ring that drops and gets you 6 points, that is the chef's kiss, creme de la creme of rings.
Yeah, and it's tough. It's actually pretty rare to get a 6-point ring, incredibly rare, I guess I would say. But to roll 6 modifiers, most rings don't even roll 6 modifiers, let alone high rolls on these particular stats. So I guess I would just say, for example, I found a ring last ladder that rolled really well. I'll just go through the stats here. I have the screenshot pulled up. So it rolled 7 to minimum damage, which is a point. It rolled 119 attack rating, which is a point. Like I was saying, the life steal and mana steal is not on the list of modifiers, but this rolled with 8 life steal, which is a perfect roll.
Which is a point.
I mean, technically by this, it's not a point, but if you're using it for PvE, for a Boazon, it's awesome. I would consider it a point. If it rolls, yeah, I would consider it a point. Or even I think max mana leech is 6. So if it rolled even mana, depending on your build, that could be so useful that it could be considered a point. But anyway, so yeah, 7 minimum damage, 119 attack rating, 8% life steal. It also rolled 18 strength, which is a point, and 88 mana, which is a point. And I guess just to go through this, max minimum damage is 9. It rolled a 7. That's 6 to 9 range. So 119 is awesome. That's out of 120. 8% life steal. That's a max roll. 18 strength out of 20 That's a really good roll, and 88 out of 90 max possible on mana. So, that's a solid 5-point ring. If that had rolled with another modifier, that we talked about from this list, it potentially could have been a 6-point ring. But this is honestly probably the best ring I've ever found, and I put that puppy on my Bozon, and she loves it. But I couldn't believe it. It dropped off of, I want to say it was just not terrorized Chaos Sanctuary, but it dropped off of Diablo in hell. It was a cool find. Probably the best ring I've ever found.
So it still would have rolled a 4 for the PvP, which is awesome.
Yeah, I mean, according to this, it's usable, right?
Yep.
But like for PvE, I would consider this a 5-point ring.
Yeah.
For sure. Pretty awesome. So,
agreed.
Anything else on that?
I think that pretty well covers it. That being said, for anybody who's listening and has input beyond what was said or anything that needs to be changed, whatever, please let me know. I'm still learning to this day. By all means, leave a comment, and we can address it the next time. We're all here learning. We're all trying to be better at this game. So please.
All right. Thanks, Tyrael.
One thing.
Oh yeah, go ahead.
I was just going to say real quick, hopefully the people who listen here are also on our Discord and our Reddit. Reach out and find out about this list. One of the real good values of it is beyond, okay, can I sell it for a great rune, or can I do this? It will help you when you're trying to judge rings. Sometimes rings are probably the most difficult thing to assess out of all the gear you get. If it's not a Bull Cathos or a Stone of Jordan or, a Ravenfrost, generally most rings are just, they're there and they fill a need. And this kind of thing will really give you an idea of what you're looking for. And when you get those rare rings and you're like, is it good? Is it not? Take a look at the list. The list will kind of give you a real good guideline as to, what you have on your hand here. I highly recommend it for people who are trying to min-max their gear, and it's a really good resource.
Yeah, and I guess the last thing I'll add on this is that if you're on the Discord, if you actually are in the general chat and you go to pinned messages, I pinned this chart in there, and it was back in May. So you just have to scroll down a little bit in the pinned messages, and you can access this chart.
Oh, okay, there.
So, all right. I guess we'll move on to Mailbag. We've got a few questions that were submitted via Reddit. So I guess we'll just kick it off with the first one here. This is a big one. I feel like maybe we've hit on this ad nauseum at this point, but their question is regarding new season updates. What will it take to get Blizzard to make some changes again? Who wants to take this one?
So that's a difficult question to answer, because with not getting any real news lately, we don't have an idea on the mindset. And then with people like leaving, the job listings, that whole dynamic could change. And maybe that's the change that's needed. Maybe having, the big guys step down, having new people stepping in, maybe those are what it's going to take for Blizzard to make some changes.
Yeah, I would say the first thing that probably needs to happen, and we've talked about it already, is that they need to name a new head of the Diablo franchise.
Yeah.
I feel like that probably needs to happen first, unless they already had things in motion. I mean, they did do the survey in Australia, so obviously someone somewhere within the Diablo team said that was a good idea to do. But you know, I think it's going to probably require them to have a new person named before we get any news. That would be my guess. But as far as getting them to make changes again, we've talked about this before, but I think there's two things. One, the acquisition by Microsoft is kind of a big thing. Microsoft tends to support their games long after they've come out. Like we talked about this as well in a previous pod about how like they've continued to provide updates for Age of Empires 2, which is came out in like 2000, and I think it was even just like last year they came out with stuff. Microsoft tends to support their premier games. Age of Empires was, and still is. Age of Empires 2 is like one of the best games ever made, at least in my opinion. And I remember playing it back then, and every once in a while I'll still load it up and play it. It's an awesome game, and Microsoft still supports it. So I think we've got that going for us. I don't know what their level of involvement is with Blizzard, if they're actually going to like get involved with how they operate, or if they're just going to kind of be hands off and let them do their own thing. I think that's yet to be seen. So we have that. I think we'll also need to have a new, like I said, a new head of Diablo in place before we hear anything. And I don't know. Crew, do you have any thoughts on this?
I say, ask not what Diablo can do for you, but what can you do for your Diablo? And here's what. Apologies to the late John F. Kennedy. What you can do is make your voice heard, community. Go out there, get on those streams and push and push. Don't be douchey. Don't go out there and say insulting, horrible things about devs and crap over things. Don't do that. That's negative. It's not going to do anything. Instead, be positive about what you want and say, hey, we love this game and we need changes and we want updates. Show them that we're not just a bunch of offline players and item sellers, that we're this, team of this group that, really wants to see improvements of the game. So get out on the Reddit, get out on the Discords, get out on the official forums, on BlueSky and Twitter and every other place you can imagine, and make your voice heard and say, hey, we want change, we want this, we want this. Let them see that there is a community out there that's hungry, and make them stand up and take notice.
Yeah, that's a good point. One thing that I remember specifically when PezRadar had responded to my message, someone, like at least one person got on there and like was just kind of a dick.
Yeah.
I don't remember exactly what they said, but I responded to it and I was like, while I agree with your sentiment or like what you're kind of getting at, that's not really the best way to go about it. I think they were similar to what we're kind of postulating about with why they said that they would continue supporting the game and then they just stopped. Well, and again, while I agree, the wording that they used and kind of personally attacked Pez, like that's not going to get you very far. You get what's the saying?
You get more flies with honey.
Attract more flies with honey than vinegar. Yep.
Yeah. So I think the same applies here. And to your point, Crude, yeah. I think getting on the social medias and letting your opinion on updates be known, and even on the Blizzard official forums. Obviously they are on there every once in a while, at least at least when it's time for a ladder reset, something they'll say something, even if it's not a lot. But those are the places that we need to go and let our voices be heard. Good question. I forgot to mention this at the beginning, and I apologize if I kill this here, but the person that submitted that question is Fermentatorist. So thanks for sending that question in. All right, next up, we've got Flying Squirrel 191, who asks, do you think we will ever get changes to uniques, either upgrading the ultra rare ones or adding new ones? I think if we do get changes, I think that's probably, I don't think it would be unreasonable to say that that's probably up there on the list. I think that's something that's been thrown around for a long time. It may not be, across the board, but certainly I think the rarest items in the game, such as Tyrael's Might, for example, would probably be a target for something like that.
Absolutely.
To actually make it comparable to other items in the game, rune words, for example. And we've kind of talked about this on previous pods, like, put teleport on it, or
something mobility.
Yeah.
It doesn't even have to be teleport, just something.
Yeah, right. Yeah. So I guess to answer your question, do you think we'll ever get changes to uniques? I think so. I hope so. And, yet to be seen. If we get changes at all, which I think we will at some point, I think there's a good chance that we might see some buffs to some of the most rare uniques.
I think that it's no more or less likely than any other changes. I think that it's something
it ranks
up
there.
Right, it's been tossed around. Plenty of people have asked for it, and I think that they're aware of how the people feel about it.
Give the people what they want. That's what I
Seriously.
say. Yeah. All right. So let's see. Silent Snooper asks, everyone wants to use the OP rune words. How can the devs change sets, especially class sets, to be more enticing and used? Should they steer sets towards supporting one or two builds per class specifically? Would ethereal set items help with that? Better different stats? How would you improve sets to be a desired aspect of the loot economy? Crude, you have any thoughts on that one? Hello there. Before we get to Crude's response, here's your chance to win a Blizzard Original Diablo 2 artwork poster. On our Episode 5 video on YouTube, like and subscribe, and then leave a comment on why you love D2R. The winner will be selected and notified in a few weeks. Good luck, guys.
Yes, and I'll take them one at a time. So to start, the first question, how can the devs change sets to be more enticing and used? Well, obviously they could get the same kind of tuning pass that in theory the uniques could get. And you could take a look at some of the endgame sets that were designed back in the first expansion in Diablo 2 when Resurrected came out. And you could take a look at them and say, okay, how do we make these match up to those rune words? And you could do some things like, just for example, the Paladin set, Griswold's, whatever set name it is, it has a Caduceus. Maybe you give that a huge flat damage boost similar to Grief as an example. That's one way that you could do that. You could add to the Sorceress set, and I think it has some elements of this already, but you could add elements of things like reducing enemy resistances. I think it already does that, though, which does make the sorcerer set fairly valuable. But there are definitely ways you could take the sets and improve them. And I would like to see some of the exceptional / elite sets that are not class specific and see them upgraded, because they generally tend to be only niche use or just a trophy. Things like Orphan's Call and the Disciple, those two sets, you've got a couple items in there that are good, like Guillaume's Face is a byword for your crushing blow builds, and Laying of Hands is, of course, so many classes can benefit from it. But overall, those sets are really underwhelming, especially on the overall bonuses. So those are the kind of sets I could see them really taking a hard look at and going, okay, we have this set here, let's throw in, who knows, a bunch of Magic Find or a Teleport, or, something that would say, yes, this set is worthy to use for that set bonus, and I can skip, X rune word. And, and that's really the same concept that, like you said, with the uniques. It's taking those items that are underpowered and then, building them back up. As far as steering sets towards supporting one or two builds, I don't know. I think I like the idea that D2R kind of exists in the space where you can kind of make builds that what you want them to be, instead of trying to drive them into a cookie cutter. And the fact that sets by themselves aren't overwhelming to a specific skill lends to that. So even though we do tend to cookie cutter our specs, typically lightning leads the way in most cases, obviously, you still have that element of choice. And I think if you pigeonholed a set, say for example, you took Immortal King and you gave it a huge boost to Whirlwind, I don't know how good that would be then. So that's something I would see there. Would ethereal set items help with that? I would say no. And the reason why is the only rune available that will take away the durability issue for your ethereals is Zods. And trying to enhance a bunch of items with the ethereal mod would increase the value of Zod, which in a way is a good thing, but they're just still so scarce that you kind of end up in a position where, yeah, they're wanted now, but because there aren't enough around, what's the point of using them? And I think that kind of falls there. I think that would support a very small set of players, and I don't think it's unreasonable to do. I just don't see a broad value, I should say, across the entire player base for that.
If I may interject real quick, the one thing I will say though is, like, sets currently cannot roll ethereal.
Yes.
I think it would be interesting if they just, flipped the switch and turned it on and allowed them to drop ethereal. Like, I don't know that it would have any negative impacts. I mean, aside from, like, you're searching for a particular piece of a set and you find one and it's ethereal. Well, that happens for every other item type in the game. So, I don't know that I would turn it on just to, like, add a buff, because really the only thing you're gonna get out of that is it'll have higher defense or it'll have higher damage. I don't think that really adds anything dramatic. But I think, it doesn't add anything dramatic as far as, like, your character is going to be better because you have an ethereal one and you put a Zod in it. But
agreed.
But I think for whatever reason, whatever decision they made, however they came to the decision that sets wouldn't have the ability to roll ethereal. I don't know what the initial thought process is on that, but I think it makes sense to allow them to, just to keep it in line with, uniques and rares and magic items that can roll ethereal as well. I mean, I think originally, I don't know for certain, but I imagine originally they did that because there were no rune words, right? And sets were kind of the pinnacle of items you could find, and they wanted to make it so it was more rewarding, at least from a usability standpoint. But now I think, turn on the ability for set items to be ethereal. I don't think it hurts anything. It certainly doesn't change power dynamic, or I don't think it would cause power creep that a lot of folks are worried about. I think it would just make it more interesting when you find something. You can find essentially a different version of it. I don't see any downside to that.
Okay. The last part of the question: how would you improve sets to be a desired aspect of the loot economy? Pretty much what we've been saying. You want to upgrade them and make them have a value that matches rune words. And that's the same, goes again the same that we would have for the uniques. I think you could take a look at some of the sets that are not specifically geared toward a class, and maybe target an item here or there that makes it really attractive to a few specific classes or a specific class, to where you're going to go and say, okay, I'm going to take that set item now, and it's going to rise up in value. One of the most utile helms in the game is Talrosh's Mask, and it's so good for mercs and melee players, as needed. And I think using that as kind of the understanding, you could take some of those set items that nobody would really ever use, whatever they might be, Magnus skin gloves, for example. They're not horrible, but no one's going to rush out to get them, and maybe make those, they're automatically going to spawn with 20% attack speed and +2 to a skill. And the skill would be your Javazon, your martial arts, your combat, stuff that everybody's going to want those gloves for. And that's how you would make those really attractive and add them to the economy. So, like I said, targeting a specific, skill set or stat that's going to make them desired. That's the way you get them into the loot economy. And, you start trading, they're worth those high runes at that point.
Yeah. And I think really what would need to happen is they'd have to do a full assessment of all the sets. What are the current builds that people are using, like just adding a little bit here and there to like bolster those particular builds, to make them more comparable to. See, and that's the thing, is like the one thing that I think a lot of people are worried about, and I am as well, like, do you necessarily want the less rare items, in this case sets, to be buffed so much that they're closer to rune words? And I feel like the answer is kind of no.
And why do you feel that way?
Because I think we need to be careful about how much we're tweaking that kind of stuff. I think power creep is a real problem with newer games, and I like the fact that Diablo 2, in this case Diablo 2 Resurrected, it's a slow progression, and it's tough to get the runes to make the top tier items. But I guess you could approach it in two ways, or you could do two things. You could maybe buff sets but then make the drop rates lower, I don't know.
I think you would have to,
Yeah.
because if you started putting sets on par with rune words, then you're looking at a potential, I don't know how to best say this, a market crash.
Yeah, I mean, you're basically flattening
Yeah.
the line. You have if you think of it as a graph, like, and your overall power level, so to speak, as you progress through the game, you find an item here, you find an item there. They're few and far between. Like it might be fast at first, but then it kind of levels off. And what you don't want to have happen is set items being close to the same viability as rune words. I don't think that would be good. And if they buff sets to the point where they're on par or close to on par with rune words, then you're kind of flattening that progression, or that graph, as far as like your overall ability to essentially kill the hardest things in the game. Of course there are exceptions already, like a smiter with not super good gear can still do ubers, for example. But there are budget builds. But anyway, I guess I think kind of like how we talked about buffing uniques, I think buffing sets is something that has been talked about for a while within the community. And while I'm not against it, I think it has to be done tastefully and in a way that doesn't cause too much power creep, because then you're kind of in an arms race, right?
Uh-huh.
And then you have to add another tier. Then you have to add another layer of even more powerful items above rune words in order to kind of keep that progression going. I guess I just laugh because I'll take a page out of the Dark Jedi's book and say I don't think we want to get into the situation where it's constant power creep and then we're into the world of D4, for example. So I think it can be done, but I think it just needs to be done tastefully and thoughtfully. I wouldn't just go around putting a bunch of additional modifiers on all the sets just because they need buffed.
Well, no, I would just counter with saying this, though. Yes, I get the idea that you wouldn't want to, say, buff a common item like Laying of Hands, which is a fairly common drop. And using that as an example, even though it doesn't really need a buff on its own. But let's just say we're using that as our example, that level of rarity. Yeah, it's so common that you would wreck the economy and wreck the scale of when you're getting, a certain level of power by giving that item a really strong buff. However, things like the Griswold set, Talrash's armor, Talrash's amulet, if any of the Necro items are rare, I'm not 100% sure. The Barbarian Soul Cage, these items are so rare anyway. Like the Soul Cage it's on a level of rarity with like a high rune for sure. We hear a lot of people, in our Discord, you'll see them, oh, I found a Burr, I found a Sir, I found a Low, I found an Ohm. How many of them find Soul Cages? 2 or 3 a season, so they're just not common. And an item like that has a buff is very similar to what you were talking about with the Tyraels. It's such a rare item that when you give it that really powerful buff, you're not wrecking the curve. And I think for some of those other sets that we were talking about, you could do something like take one of the items and change its treasure class, to where it now becomes, let's say, like a TC-84 if it was before a TC-63, just for example, and now you increase that rarity and add the buffs as the set bonus, maybe more along the lines of doing that instead of just buffing the item, so you're not so you're not cherry picking that one item. You're making the conscious thought of saying, okay, I'm going to sacrifice Enigma or Grief because this overall set is going to give me the same value. And what you wind up what's happening is that in terms of the economy, one of these weapons, say for example, or say the armor is par with Enigma, well, that armor is worth to someone a Jaw rune, if they so desire it. And then you could get into the argument of, well, what's better? Why not have this one thing? And the economy is so driven around the runes right now. I could easily see, though, I see the argument. As you were talking, I was looking at it from a different perspective, and I could see the pitfalls there of getting away from the current end game power structure. And yeah, I think you're right. I think it's definitely something that has to be done surgically and carefully and well thought out. I do agree. You can't just slap a bunch of bonuses on all the set items and call it a day.
And I would go back to what I said previously, which is if they're going to buff sets, they need to actually reduce their drop rates. At least some of them, because okay, so for example, you mentioned the Soul Cage, so that item, like when I'm playing like over a weekend or maybe a couple weekends and I'm playing like all day, I will find one. Like it's, of course, if you're playing P1, then your chances of finding like the high-end sets and stuff, any items really, go down significantly. But if you're playing P5, P7, finding one of those isn't super rare. Now, Tyrael's Might, for example, it's the rarest item in the game, aside from maybe a Cham and a Zod. So anyway, I guess I wouldn't be against buffing sets, but I would still take a look at drop rates and make sure that they're adjusted in a way that makes it more even. All right, so last question here. Oh, and thank you, Silent Snooper, for the question. Last question here. I think it's JL Comp 86, and they say, this game is truly legendary. There are many reasons that keep it relevant. If you had to give one reason and one reason only, what is it about Diablo 2 that keeps you coming back after 25 years? And then there's a follow-up question. If you were to be at the helm of a Diablo movie, which direction would you take it? Geez, these are big questions. So I guess for me personally, what keeps me coming back after 25 years? Well, first of all, I guess I would say D2R was a reason to come back in and of itself. D2 was great. I think D2R is the best version of the game. So I think that's maybe a cheap, easy answer. But beyond that, I think number one, the sense of community that's built around the game. The reason we're doing this pod. Every community has, your negative Nancy's and whatnot, but in general, at least in our Discord, it's just a good group of people that love the game as well, and you like to spend time with folks talking about the game. I think the community plays a big part in that. But as far as the gameplay itself, I think the fact that it's hard, it's not easy. Like, don't get me wrong, I played D3 when it first came out. I remember even when they had a beta. I'm sure, Crude, that you played the beta. I think you could only get up to like the Skeleton King.
Yes.
In the beta, and like I played that over and over and over and over again. I mean, it was great. Like, at that point we didn't know what the rest of the game was going to be like, and it was certainly a little shinier, right? And it was new and whatever. It just didn't have that holding power that D2 and now D2R has. And D4, it, like, the power creep, and even end game of D3, like, you're hitting stuff for billions of damage. Like, it's all just very fast paced and linear. Whereas I think D2 is hard. You don't have that crazy power bonus, the riffs, all that kind of stuff. I guess that to me, that's kind of it. Like, it's slow progression. Certainly you can go fast. Like, if you just get power leveled, you do G rushes, and then you have gear on non-ladder and you throw it on your character and you're OP like immediately. You can do that. But you have to work to get to that point. It's not something where you're just like OP right out of the gate. I guess that's my answer on that. Anyone else?
I'll go. For me, I'm gonna impose a further restriction on me with this question. I'm gonna do this in single words. For me, it has to be replayability. That is what keeps bringing me back. You have 7 different classes. You have multiple builds for every class, and it's a little tied in with you, Break, is that it's difficult every time. You're not able to come in there swinging and be this monster that they have to worry about right out the gate. Like, you actually have to work for it, no matter what class it is, what build it is. And because there's such diversity with all of that, I think that's the thing that keeps me coming back the most, has to be the replayability. There's always something new to try, and when you think you've run out, then you can start making meme builds, and once you've run out of those, like, there's still more stuff that you can try.
Crafting, gambling.
Yes. So much.
And like, they have that stuff in other games, but it just doesn't hit the same.
No, and that's just it, is because you have the master key here, and I get it that imitation is the greatest form of flattery, but you're standing up to this monolith that is Diablo 2 and Diablo 2 is directed, and you can copy it, down to its DNA, and I still don't think that you could have the same panache that this game has. Then I think the next question was about the movie.
Oh yeah, I didn't answer that.
I think that a cool movie to do would be pre-game storyline, lore, like almost like a more serious, but like a History of the World Part 1 type of deal, but with like Diablo lore and going through the ages that led up to Game 1 would be kind of a neat video to do.
You know, I guess I would just piggyback off of that. Like, maybe, I guess the way I'm looking at it would be the lead up to Diablo 2. In that, like, there's lore around all of the classes. It would be cool to have like each of their individual stories kind of woven together to the point where they like meet up.
Okay.
Prior to D2, or like maybe just leading into it a little bit. Kind of like backstory, I guess. But like follow each of the characters through their journey to the point where they get to Sanctuary.
I dig it.
Yeah, that would be cool. Anyway, I think that's it. You guys have anything else?
I do. She's not gonna hear this until afterwards, but it is my sister's birthday, so just wanted to give her a birthday shout out.
Are you gonna do
Happy
it?
birthday.
Happy birthday.
Happy birthday. All right, cool. Well, thanks everybody. Crude, Tyrael, all those listening. Thanks for joining us today, and we will see you next time.
Ciao.
Your presence honors us. And if you enjoy our content, please consider joining our community on Reddit and Discord. And as always, farewell. Until next time.